Sorry.
You have sticks growing out of your head. You have antlers.
All right, now it's recording. Something to point out my antlers more. All right, you want to start?
Okay. Hey y'all, I'm Natalie Atkinson. Most of you know me, some of you may not, but I'm a counselor at Shades Valley, and I'm also the high school mentor. And we were supposed to have a meeting on Tuesday, but obviously we had weather issues, so we did not. We wanted to open this up to all counselors for middle and high school that will be doing course selections. I know a lot of people are going to start those very soon. The district has put out a timeline for course selections, and they are wanting course selections and master schedules and student schedules to all be submitted to the school's deputies by the end of April. And that puts us on a very tight timeline. From what I've been told from IT, they're not going to build New Year in iNow until March, more than likely. I've been told that there could be some changes to next year's calendar, and so that's what they're waiting on before they build New Year. If we use Google Forms for course selections, it'll automatically put everything into a spreadsheet for us, so then we can sort and filter. We can go ahead and figure out how many classes of each, or how many sections of each class we need, and start working with our administrators to create that master schedule that we will need. Then once iNow is open for us to enter course requests, we can mass assign those course requests through iNow and go ahead and proceed with doing student schedules. So that's why we are here today with Amanda, and we wanted to get some of her expertise on how to use Google Forms so that we can make sure that we meet the timelines that we're instructed to meet.
All right. So I'm going to kind of go over. I sent out a, it looked like a lot of y'all are in the agenda, which is good. It's going to kind of go through what exactly we're going to look at. I am going to start from the beginning, like how to go into forms. Some of you might be forms experts, and that's good. So bear with me. But those that didn't, I don't want to leave some people just like floundering around looking for answers. So we're just going to start from the beginning and hopefully move together. If you have a question, I do have my chat up. You should be able to unmute yourself, but if it won't, the chat is up and I have it where I can see it. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, I have the agenda open. So first thing is just logging into Google. I'm just going to assume that everybody can do that. Just go, that's how you check your email. When you're in your email, if you ever notice that there's a little square, well, it's 9 squares, and that's your app menu. So if you click on that, you can find Drive, and it will take you to your Drive. A lot of times people will automatically want to go to Forms or go to Docs or wherever, and sometimes it's hard to find your stuff because your folders aren't going to be there. So I always recommend to go to Drive first, just as your starting place. So once we're in there, to find Forms, you can click New, and then you're going to click More. That's like always the big thing is people can't ever find it because it's under More, and then Google Forms will be right there, and that will start you a brand new Google form. If you've done a Google form and you're looking for it and you can't remember the name of it, you can always go to the search and then click search Drive and type, and you can choose Forms, and it will search all the forms that are in there. So if you've got something that's missing, something that you've done in the past, that is a way to find it. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to click More, and I'm going to click Google Forms. Is everybody okay, like finding forms? If not, go up on the chat. I just don't want to leave somebody. So we're good. Okay, so this is what new forms look like. It's very basic. You got to give it a title, of course. It saves it automatically, so whatever you're working on, the power goes out, something like that happens, it's saved. You don't have to worry about finding it another time. So title. If you wanted to do it by grade, let's say I'm just going to name it course selection sheet. I can look up here. If I click up here at the top, it automatically names it. If you want to move it to certain folders, you can always click here. And here's my Drive, but I want to do it in a folder that's already there, so I can go and look. maybe. Okay, I can do course selection. I can say, hey, I want it to get moved to this folder right here, and it's going to put that in my folder. So that kind of keeps it organized. So once you have a new form and you've named it, you can put descriptions in here. So if there's something that's a description, that would be where you would put that in. I'm going to kind of show you just how to add new things to here, and then we'll look at the settings so you can get that as all set up too. I just don't want. Google Docs is one of those things that it's not linear. There's just like you can do anything at any time, it seems like, and everything connects. So hopefully it won't get you too lost. So the first thing is they already have a question kind of started for you. So you can just click and start there. If you wanted to put more information, instead of a question, you have over here some other options. You had a plus sign, which that adds a new question. You have a title. So if you wanted to put these in different sections, you can add a title. You can add an image if there's an image. I don't know why you put a video for this, but
so title would be like demographics or
yes. So if you
English
wanted to separate
or a math or something.
So
like
let me show you an example like I made over here. This one has multiple pages, but once I got into pages, you'll see like here's where math starts a new section and science starts a new section. And actually when it comes back up on, did that even show up on your side? I don't know if that showed up because I didn't.
Are y'all able to see the form that she did?
So y'all see how it has science there and social studies here. It kind of does a new section. And when it comes out on the main page, I've got to not do these where I have to put something in. Let me go quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, here we go. Right. So now you can see how I've got these sections where they're like English and math, and you can see how those titles will break those up.
Now, how did you get it to go where it had a section of questions and then it went to next and then
that's the next section of questions? That's the next one. So the next part is add a section. So this was add a title and description, and that kind of breaks up one page. You can also add section, and that makes it, they used to call those pages, and it will make them go to new pages. When I show you what, like an example of a form, I'm going to show you kind of how to put those in and what those mean when we get to that point. When you're adding a question, you have different choices. You have a lot of choices about how you want your question. You want short answer, you can have short answer, paragraph, multiple choice. With multiple choice, the difference between multiple choice and checkbox is that when this is a live form, you can't choose more than one. If it was a checkbox, so if you need something that's chosen more than once, checkboxes will allow you to do two. So that's the difference between those. I get that question a lot. You have a drop-down menu. That would be if you have tons of options. I do that a lot, like if somebody's having to choose their school. File upload will actually upload it a file and turn it into a folder in your drive. Linear scale is when you're scaling from 1 to 10, 1 to 5, something like that. You have multiple choice grid. It looks different here, but let me add a few rows and add a few columns so you can see what that looks like, because the grid is probably one that you're going to use. This is what it looks like if it has the multiple choice, which of course means you can only choose one. And you have your columns where you could do it that way. You can't unclick them. Like you have to click, like once you click that row, you have to click that row. So if you are doing that, you know that what happens with multiple choice, but if you did a checkbox, the checkbox grid, you actually can uncheck it. So if I wanted to do only 3 options and I accidentally didn't want that one, I can go and change it. So that's the difference between the checkbox and the multiple choice. Date just puts everything in a date and time, like certain way, so it's always going to go in the same way. If you had birth date and you were going to sort by birth date, you probably would want to do that. When it asks for those questions, a lot of times it'll automatically go to that. A lot of people don't like that you have to, let me show what it looks like. A lot of people don't like that you have to, there we go, do a drop down and find the date or type it in this certain way. So that's just whatever you choose. There's also a time, which does a time stamp. Everything that turns in here has a time stamp. So
So you don't really need.
You don't really need that for especially for this type of questions. So your questions are here. You can duplicate questions. So if you don't want to have to type it 3 times, it'll duplicate it for you. And then of course you can edit the second one. If something is, with each question you can do a requirement, makes it required. If it was like their age, I mean their name, those kind of things, their grade, you're probably going to want that required because you don't want them to skip that. If you click on these 3 dots with a short answer, you can actually put a description in here. So if I had like question, first name, I could put in here, use your given name, not what you go by, because we know that that's people put their own thing there. So you can actually put that. You can also go in there and do a response validation, and that kind of locks down what they put into that answer. That's going to help, like if it's a number. So let's say that you had a phone number. Actually, you would want that length, and you want it to have a minimum count of 10. So they have to put in 10 digits if they were going to put in a phone number. You can do it where a text contains an email address. So it has to have an email address. So they can't just kind of half do that and hope for the best. You can also do a number. It has to be greater than, equal to. You can do text where it has to have contains or doesn't contain certain things. And then a regular expression you can put in as well. So those kind of lock it down to how they can put those answers in there. So like, yeah, you see how you can copy it and then maybe do last name. I always separate last name and first name, because then when it's time to, when it goes into the spreadsheet, you can sort it by last name, and they're not all stuck together. Because if they're all stuck together and then you say, hey, split it by spaces. Well, some kids have 3 last names, some kids have 1 last name, and now you're all messed up again. How do you duplicate the question? Duplicate's just this little copy button right here. Oh, you found it. Sorry, I was reading down the list. So that's kind of how you would put the questions in. They're pretty simple to do. You want to, if you did a question that was the checkbox grid, you can actually require a response in each row, or you can turn that off. And you can actually limit 1 response per column. And that means, like, if you numbered this, and you'll see when I go through here, 1, 2, 3, and this is their top 3 choices for an elective, you can go in and tell it, hey, you want to limit 1 response per column. That way they can't have they can't just go in and just start clicking like crazy. And you can also put a description in there too to give some more information. So any questions about how you make it, just how you make your questions? Any questions about how you make your questions? The next part is up here at the top. These are your settings. And so this is when you're setting up your form. There's different things you probably want to do. You definitely want to collect email addresses, especially if the kids are the ones putting it in. If you're the one putting it in, there's no need to collect email addresses because it's going to be your account. But if the kids are each putting them in, if you send out this form and say, you know, hey, fill out your course selection sheets this way, you can actually collect their email address, and that way you know it. I used to have kids drop F-bombs in the middle of things like this, and I could always tell who it was because I collected their email addresses. And so you can actually go in there, you can say, and you can, if you collect email addresses, you can even ask for a response receipt, which means that they get an email that says this is what your form looked like and this is what you answered. So it'll automatically send that. And you can say that always, or if they request it, I would do always, because that way, if they do go fill it out, it sends them a request, and that way they see this before, you know, when it's immediately when it goes to you. So if they have a question about it, they can, you know, get that changed before you put it in.
Where it's finalized.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one thing that we can do, and this is going to kind of be up to your school and what you decide works best for your school. I know that some people like to meet individually with their kids to do course selections. And if that's the case, you know, you may choose to have one form and the counselor is entering this information into the form, and then the kid may be highlighting or circling it on a paper form so that they have something to take home with them. If you were going to do a small group instruction to do course selection, you may have the kids in a computer lab and they may be filling out their own. And if that's the case, then having this response receipt where it automatically emails them whatever they replied and chose, then that is a great way to have a record of what they did. It's time and date stamped, that it's been sent to them, and then you've got the electronic version in or their electronic record in the spreadsheet, and then they've also got it via email.
And I did, let's see if I still have it. I think I did one earlier. Yeah, I did one earlier, and this is what it looked like. So I got this email right here. I got this email right here, and this is what it said. This is said, hey, this is what you put in for your name, your email address. Here's what you selected. And I can't go back and select them, but it obviously selected it for me so I could see what it looked like. And of course, I chopped it off because it was too long. But yeah, so I have a receipt that goes to me that said, here's what you chose for each of these. And it kind of has a little radio hit or the checkbox hit, whatever it was I chose. What was my little one? You can restrict it. You do want to, if the students are putting it in there, you want to restrict it to Jeffco Ed users. You can limit one response, but if they mess up and you tell them to go back and do it again, they wouldn't be able to. You don't want them to edit after submit on something like this, because then they could, they would just keep going back.
It needs to be finalized.
It needs to be done. And it doesn't matter if they see, I wouldn't worry about stuff like that.
Now, if let's say that a child goes in and chooses all advanced classes, and then their parent, they go home and they've gotten this email, and their parent's like, no, my child is not taking advanced classes. Can we go back into the spreadsheet and edit it?
Yeah, you can edit the spreadsheet anytime.
Okay.
So this is just the person who submitted it, because they not letting them go back and edit.
Okay, so we could edit on the response side of it. Would it send them another email, or what would it? Does it show them that the changes have been made, or?
It wouldn't.
Okay.
No. So you would have to kind of let them know. And so she asked if it says, are y'all gonna email us? Yes, I have. Yes, I am adding some samples to the agenda sheet. All right, awesome. Yeah, so presentation, that just means how it's going to shuffle. Progress bar, if you do multiple pages, and I'm going to kind of show you that in just a minute. If you do multiple pages, the progress bar will say, hey, you've got 50% of it done. You got half, it'll kind of move them as they go. Okay. You can do a confirmation message, just like, thanks, you can put whatever you need to, or if you have changes, contact whoever, you can put those in there as well. And save that. You aren't going to use was this, so I just went ahead and saved it. So yeah, so those are just kind of different settings. You can change the color. I'm one of those people, the color palette, I would do a different color for each grade, just for my brain and my eyes. So you can change those. They even have pictures on there if you want to get fancy as well. Also up here, if you want to make a copy, so say you did one for 9th grade, and you want the, it's going to be very similar for the 10th grade. You don't want to have to retype in the name and the parent's name and all that. You can make a copy, and it'll make a copy of that. So if I click this, I get the same sheet. It's just not going to edit my original. It's kind of like in Word how you do save as. So it kind of does its own little save as.
So then you could go in and change the English courses to 10th grade English courses instead of 9th grade, but then you have all the other.
But the other stuff was already moved over. And once you get into like this, 10th through 12th grade electives or something like that, those will just kind of move on over to.
Yeah, Amy, what I had what we had talked about at Shades Valley, just among the 4 of us, was the possibility of going ahead and mail merging names onto paper course selections. And then they could highlight it or circle it and take that home with them so that the parents could see it. Amanda showed me a few minutes ago before we started that you can mail merge it, but it didn't look real pretty.
You can, you'll have to go in there and fix it, and it will mail merge, and you can make it into a PDF or a Google form that will email out to the students, or just put it in a folder for you. If you don't want to have to email it, if you don't want to email it to everybody, you just want that folder. So if you do go back and change it, and I'm going to show you all those add-ons that would be another whole nother lesson. But if you wanted to tackle it, I know when we set them up, I think it was Amanda at Corner when we set up those. They had to do theirs really fast, and we set up a mail merge that just automatically sent an email out to the parents that had their sheet on there. That was like a PDF. So if they needed changes or something, they could take that and print it if they needed to. She was talking about, you asked about middle school needs parent signatures. She was talking about once they put it in iNow, printing off the sheet, and then they can sign those before moving forward.
So once you mass assign once you've done this part and you've mass assigned in iNow, once iNow is available, then you can go back in and print something called a course verification request for the kids, and it has the kid's name and it has the classes that they've requested, and you can very easily send those home. You can still make changes to those as well, because that's just like the request that we do anyway. But they could use that as a signature sheet and return those, Mary.
So there's going to be multiple ways. I'm going to show you some different ways. I'm going to show you just kind of how to make the spreadsheets first. And I'm going to show you how to connect them with, is there a way to cap number of students that shows? That's one of those add-ons I'm going to show you. You can do that. And when I show you those, you'll see how you can do some that will make them disappear.
Capping them though, Mary, I know that there's a specific number of teachers that you have in each building. So there's pluses and minuses to capping them. If you cap the number that can choose it, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that chose it, that it will fit in their schedule. So then you may end up having to go back to those kids and having them choose another alternative. So it's just something to think about. But there's definitely, a limit to the number of teachers that we have for sure. So,
yeah, and you can also, if you cap it, like if the kids are putting it in order, like if they choose their first choice, second choice, third choice with middle school, because they're just a little bit different. If you cap it, then they're not going to be, if everybody put in third choice and there are some kids with first choice, you wouldn't be able to go back and kind of give it to them first. And I'll show you. So I'm going to show you how to get it to the spreadsheet. I think that was the next question.
How is it transferred? Do we have a sheet for each child?
Okay, so that's my next step, is to show you kind of how to put it into a spreadsheet. So once you have this built out, you're going to click over here to your responses. And in your responses, you see that there's a little green box, and that will create a spreadsheet. You can also go here and tell it. No, I guess it doesn't. So you click here and it will create a spreadsheet. It is named the same as my I can go ahead and say create that. And it opens up a spreadsheet that has all of my questions. But it has, and so it will automatically, as the forms are filled out, stick it into the spreadsheet. So these were the questions that were asked here. There was one over here that I had tons more questions. If I click over to responses on that one, you'll see that it will fill in and even timestamps it too. Come on. Spreadsheets always take forever to load. And it puts in every single one of these questions, as you can see as I go across. And it's kind of messy right now, but I'll explain that to you once we start building out those questions. So it will actually put everything in the spreadsheet. You can do multiple ones to a spreadsheet. So let's say that I had over here, that was that 9th grade, and I made that copy over here. So let's say that this copy was my 10th grade. And if I wanted them all into one spreadsheet, I could go over here and say responses, and instead of hitting this, well, actually I would hit that, and I'm going to say existing spreadsheet. And when I select that, it will allow me to find, is this the one that's in 9th grade? Yeah, so it will let me find that one. And then I can take out 9th grade up here, and I can put in 2018, 2019. And so now I have form responses 1, which I can go back and rename. I can rename it to 9th grade. And I can rename this one to 10th grade. and now it's going to feed it in there. So if I fill out this, one, let's just pick a date. Oh, we can do this. Just pick a date. I'm just choosing stuff and submit. That's the 9th grade one. It's only going to feed into this 9th grade sheet. It's not going to feed into the 10th grade sheet. So you don't have to do it that way. If you like them all separate, you can do them all separate. But do know that if you wanted them all to feed into one place where you could just click tabs, that there is that option as well.
Will you go through that one more time?
Yes.
How to
So
merge it into one. Please.
So to put it into one spreadsheet, you just click on the little box that says square, and it will make a new one. I already made one with that one, so it didn't ask me. If I had it where I can select response, I can select existing. So if I had never used this spreadsheet before and it was a new one, it would pop up this. When I click the square, it would pop up to this option, and I would click select existing if I wanted it to go to one that was already there.
And that was from clicking the 3 dots to the right of the green.
Yes, it's called a more menu. So if I click the more menu, I would click that. Which actually, if I just click the green, if this one has never been connected to a spreadsheet before, I would just click the green and it would have popped it up.
But doing the more menu and selecting a different destination will create a new tab on that original.
Right. It'll create tabs at the bottom, and they'll be called form responses, but you can go in and you can actually rename them.
Okay.
As they go. Once you have that stuff in there, and I'm going to bring up this one because this is just kind of this is the spreadsheet that we did at that time. Actually, I made a copy of it for, so I'm not messing up your stuff, Amanda, I promise. When Corner had to do the quick spreadsheet, this was the spreadsheet they had. And we did the mail merge, so this is what these documents are if you're wondering that. But she could go in there, and I have the names hidden because this is recording. But she could go in here and she could sort. Okay, I want to, this is right here is art. And if you wanted to, you could even rename it to where it just says art. And you could actually go in here and sort it to where it's A through Z. So now you have all your 1s and all your 2s, and you can see which kids. So if there was the kid's name here, and this was, you know, all of the kids listed here, you would see these are the kids that had it as their number 1 choice. And then you could go back and you could sort this one. And actually, as you start sorting them, now it's going to put the 2s up here at the top. And then, so does that make sense?
What are the little tags in the corner on some of them? Like, scroll back now. See the little tags that are right here? What are those?
Responder updated. They had it where they could update theirs or something.
Oh,
looks like.
Okay. So the kids could change those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it looks like they had it. This looks like these were open where they could go back and put in, or somebody else went and put it in. But yeah, that's what those tags are.
Okay.
If you have that turned off, it's not going to happen. So yeah, so this is where your information is going to go. You will see your information if somebody's responding. They will have all the responses down through here. That gets messy when you're more than just 5 or 6 people. Mm-hmm. But it will give you kind of a quick view of, hey, I have everybody choosing this one elective. Mm-hmm. You know, those kind of things. If you just want that kind of graph, it'll show you those graphs right there. But or you could go through and look at each student one by one by one if you wanted to.
Now, is there a way to put responses all in one spreadsheet? Like your 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 12th graders all into one spreadsheet?
It's going to put them all in. You would have to have, well, the only way it would do that is if you had all of your, they would all have to be on the same form.
Okay. And
you can do that, and that's once we get past this data and just talking about how your forms are set up, when I show you that, we'll go. Any questions about data? Put a sheet for each child. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to show y'all for sure. Any questions on like it going into the spreadsheet? All right, looks like we're good. So let me show you some examples of how you can set it up, because that might answer that question.
Okay. Because what I'm thinking of is once we're ready to give numbers to our administrators.
Yeah. You're going to have it all.
You know, for sort and filter and everything, it kind of all needs to be in one. But I mean, you could do it for each page, but.
So I did it where, so I kind of.
And then, yes. I believe that's an option, Jane.
Could you add question? That was great. If you Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and that's what I was going to show y'all. So I did one real quick that was high school all-in-one form. And so you remember how when we were talking about over here on the right side, you had your, you could add text or whatever. This right here was the add section, and that's kind of where you do a page break. So if you did that, you can actually do a page break, but you could do a question. This is a multiple choice question, and it is what grade level will you be in next year? So 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
So if I did that, and I did these page breaks, so I have a 9th grade page break, I have, let's keep scrolling down, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, which these are kind of opposite of what they should be, but it'll be okay. You can go in here and tell it to, this one's going to go to 9th grade course selection. This one's going to go to 10th grade. This one's going to go to 11th grade, and this one's going to go to 12th grade. And so what that will do is that it will send them to their questions. And let's see, let me give you, let me turn off all these required ones so I can skip over them. So I did that, and I go here. So I could go in here and I could choose, I am 9th grade, and I want to click next. I didn't click that one. And I click next, and it's going to take me to the 9th grade selection sheet. But if I went back and I had clicked 10th grade, it's going to take me to my 10th grade click, which I don't have anything written in there because I was running out of time. But I could have it where it does this, and all of these would go straight to one spreadsheet. So when they enter the grade, yes, it takes them to the correct section. So,
Yeah. See, I don't know what a pivot table is.
might we be able to use a pivot table and include all pages? Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, you should be able to.
That's over my head, Casey. Sorry.
Pivot tables are so pretty. Yeah, because I was looking at something they have. Yeah, so they have. I was to say they just added something new to your pivot tables too. So yeah, you could do them all in there. So yeah, if you want to be fancy, and pull them in from all. This is where you would choose all your sheets. So you would choose the different sheets and pull it in. For sure. Love that. Pivot tables make my head hurt. Don't be sorry. They're fun. I love spreadsheets, but pivot tables don't. So
you're a troublemaker, Casey.
But this would put it all into one sheet if you and there are some add-ons too that will put them all into one sheet as well. Where was I? Yeah. So this will take you to how the students they'll get the link. Let me show you okay. I feel like I'm jumping around. To get a link, you're gonna say, you can either click the eyeball.
Am I getting ahead of myself?
Yeah.
Yes, Whitney.
Yes. I'm trying to keep up with everybody's questions. Let me finish this part, and then I'm going to show you how to share them all, and then we'll talk about the add-ons, which does the mail merge. Will that be okay? Because I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to get everybody get lost. So this is one example. This is a high school, and all like if you had, this is all your grades into one form. You would, of course, you would do a page break after your question of which grade level. You would have your 9th grade here. And see, like I put like 9th grade electives. This would be your 9th grade electives. There. Then you would do your 10th grade, your 12th grade, 11th grade, whatever. I put this at the end just because she had that on her normal sheet, but you don't have to put all that in there because, of course, it sounds like you are going to print these off too. But these will, but yeah, so you can do it this way. So it has all the school in one form. You can do it where each grade level has their own course selection sheet, which is fine. But when we're talking about doing these questions, I want to show you some different ways that you can do the question, 2 different ways you can do the questions, okay? When you're asking for their courses. With English, keep scrolling. It's loading. With English and math and those kind of things, they're not going to be choosing more than one. So I would have them as multiple choice, or they have to choose one of these. They can't like choose 2. With math, I did put these are check boxes because they would have to do the algebra A and B, algebra 1 A and B. But these are just multiple choice questions. When I'm editing, you see how it's a multiple choice. That's what I chose. And then you would choose which one that they would have. When you get to the electives, one way to do this is a grid. And the grid will allow them to choose, show the live form so we can see the student. Oh, I did that. Okay, all right. You can see how students will see. Yeah, so give me a
Sherilyn, I think she's going to put some of these templates that she's played around with.
And I am going to do screenshots. I just didn't have time today. And this week just got a bit crazy.
I kind of threw this on Amanda, so we appreciate her doing this at the last minute. So
oh, it's good.
We were just trying to squeeze this in before everybody got started with course selections. So
and yeah, and I already have some made, so that especially when it comes to those add-ons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to show you, this is the checkbox. This is where you can do it where let me uncheck all these. Oh, these are all required. Well, this is the checkbox. This is where they could choose their 1, 2, 3 electives and then go down to their alternate electives 1 and 2. And if you put 1 and 2, you can sort them by that 1 and 2, and that way you can see what their first electives are. And let me show you what that looks like. But I've got to go through and answer these questions because I didn't uncheck it. I'm just putting 1. Her name's going to be 1. 10. G. I'm just going to choose the top one. So when there is the checkbox, it looks like this when the kids end. So the kids can go in and they can check, hey, this is what I want first. This is my second choice. Here's my second choice. Here's my third choice, and they can go in and choose it like that. I recommend checkboxes because if it's the multiple choice, they can't uncheck it. You can set these up where you don't want to require a response in each row because that would be chaos, but you can limit to 1 response per column. So you can make that limit in there. And so this is how their students would choose them. They would just choose their 2 different ones. And when it goes into the spreadsheet, that's the one that looks like here where it would have your 1s and 2s. It wouldn't have what they chose. What they chose would be up here at the top. And like I said, you can delete this part out, but it would have your 1s and 2s so you could sort them.
So on that one, it's not going to come up with like a course number or a course name.
The course number is going to be at the top, like here it is, like this one. Like this is that one with the grid. It looks like this. So you could actually go in later and just take out this, and there's your course. Does that make sense? Or you could even just take it out and put the number in there. But you just do that after you set up your form, and then it'll have each of your. And then on this end, it'll look like this. Like if that was their 1, if this was their 2, this is what you would see. And then they would have blanks on the ones they didn't choose. And the reason for this is because that way you can sort it a little bit
so if you have a ton of elective choices, then you're going to have a bazillion columns.
You would have a bazillion columns. So there's another option, but I just want to show you that one. The other option. So you have grids, that option. The other option would be if you did a multiple choice. So if you had a multiple choice, then your students would have this. As it loads, it would look like the core classes where you had your core classes, and then as you scroll down, your electives would look like this. So the required electives already on there just to give them an idea. Then it would say choose elective 1, and they would only be able to choose 1 question. And then they would say choose elective 2, and then on the so let's see, let's go to the live one so you can see what it looks like. Look, that'll automatically do fill. Okay. I'm gonna just put the on there. Next.
It was the work one.
Okay, good.
And Casey wants to see what the core classes look like in response form too.
Yes, and it's going to look like these do. So let me get this answered and submitted. And here's my elective. So like this is what the elective would look like. So they could have all their electives listed, and then they would choose the one they would want. Choose this one, choose that one. We can go on and on. Next, this is where we were talking about just different options for agreements. Give me a second just to put in something here. And now we can look at it. So this one would look like this. So you would have whatever let's think about it. So it would look like here's your English course selection. Here's your elective 1, and I can make them where there. There's elective 1, elective 2, elective 3, and you can see what they chose all the way across. Apparently this person chooses the same one, means they don't get one. Does that make more sense? And the core classes look just like that too. So here's your math course, and this is what it'll look like with that. It'll stick them in there just like that. You can do the grid for that if you would rather, but I think that would be a little less chaotic. Does that make sense?
Casey, did that answer your question?
Ask about academies and pathways. Yeah, I mean,
have them go to an elective section. Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be it. They could, you know, when you get to 10th and up, hit your pathway, and then you would have your electives based on that, and that's a great idea, definitely. If it were to allow, let's see. You did check. Okay, so when you do check boxes and they choose more than one answer, it actually puts all those answers into one square. With that makes sense. So like if and the reason I just put a rank was because that just gives you a 1 to sort, a 2 to sort, a 3 to sort. It just kind of gives you something to sort. If we do a checkbox, if you do a checkbox and they choose, like if you do the multiple choice, let's go back here. Like I know in this math one right here that I have checkboxes because you obviously had to choose 2 things. But if they chose,
so you could take Algebra 1 and Geometry, let's say.
Okay, so yeah, you are a go-getter. And you can choose 2 when that happens. This is what it looks like. And so you'll have to be aware of that. So when it goes in there, which one is this? This is this one. Oh. So when they have multiple maths, it's going to stick them all in there and then put commas between them. Which of course you can go in and you can tell it to separate, but see how it's got a column? Mm-hmm. If you're real fancy, you can actually go in here and say, where was this? I told somebody yesterday. We're going to split text to columns, and you could tell it not that way. You want to do it with a comma, and you could split that into 2 columns. Oh, it has 2 commas apparently. But you could kind of do it that way. You would just make sure there's no commas after advanced. And you could split them so that that could be an option if you wanted to do it that way. The deal is that this is yours. Yeah, she's not prioritizing. This is your form, so whatever would be best for you and your school. I'm just kind of throwing out some ideas to just kind of give everybody. You could do it this way. You could do it that way. Since your students are recommended for honors, my kids I have a middle schooler now, and we still, even though it had to be recommended, we still chose if we were wanting the honors course, even if it wasn't. So you could always do that.
And what you could do with that, Mary, is you could fill the form out this way, and then you could sort and filter and give that list to the teachers or email it to the teachers and say, this is what the kids have requested. Let me know if there are any glaring errors to this.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is
there could be.
and once it's in a spreadsheet, you can run, there's some, when I go through add-ons, there are some add-ons, and I'm writing this down to compare. There are some that will compare. So you could actually say, hey, I want to see a list of all the people who chose, or when you filter it here, you can say, I want to see, I'm going to do a filter, and I want to see a create filter, and I want to see everybody that chose, Algebra 1. And you can pull Algebra 1, and now you have a list of everybody that said, hey, I want to do honors courses in middle school, and they have to have recommendations. So now you kind of can compare them a little bit easier than if you just kind of had them all printed off or on a sheet of paper and you're flipping through 100 times. Can we attach an elective sheet to this document to have it separate? Yeah, you could. And when you send this out, you could put that into however you send that out. You can also, you could take a picture, like a screenshot, a picture of the electives. Where's one that I'm working on? They're all.
You could put it on the website. You could put blank forms on your website so that people could see them.
If you wanted to take, this is the electives right here, and let's say that I wanted to take this one, copy, let's say a new question. I can say, I'm just going to cut this in half for save as electives. I spelled it wrong. And I could go in. What was that? I think I have too many things open right now. Way too many things. Okay, so if I'm here, I want to add an image. I can say choose an image to upload. I want my desktop. And I call it electives. I can stick that in there. I can stick it in there like that. And then you could ask the questions below.
So then you could have this picture, and then you could have sections below where they have to enter the number,
yes, you
5
could do
sections where they enter a number.
You could do it that. Yes, you could definitely do it that way. And so
I like that.
That could be an option as well. Let me delete this off.
I really like that.
But if you did, you could do that. And if you did that, I'm gonna do a new question. You did that, it's still in the blank. You could go in here and say, hey, I want this to short answer. That's where that response validation comes in. And that response validation could say, it has to be in length, and it has to have a minimum count of 6.
And then can you say no more than 8?
So we should probably do more than one. It's
because I'm wondering, because some classes have
an
AB after them or something like that.
Yeah, it's only going to let me do one response.
The only drawback to them typing it is that it creates room for error on their part.
It does. Yeah.
It does. And Amy, that's one reason that we had talked about doing individual course selections if we could, and kind of recruiting some people from around the building to help us so that we can meet with them and we could type in the answers. It does take longer to do it that way, but then they're also getting a little more face time. And I think there's less chance for error if we're typing it in versus than if the kid is.
Here's an example of what the Amanda used at Corner. Their course selection sheet just had name, email, which was optional because they were sending this out to parents. They just put it on the webpage kind of thing. They ranked. They said yes if they were going to be on a ball team, and then that was it. And so they didn't put all the academics because it's middle school and they didn't need to put all that in. So that's just kind of an idea. And hers has got tons of responses in. Let's see. Trying to think about how to scroll down fast enough to not see it. And you could even go in and say, hey, look, all these kids want band and all these kids want, so that could help with planning for the next year or two.
So when you hover over that, it gives you the number of kids that wanted that?
Yes, 73 people wanted that. 33 kids wanted that. And this was their choices. This was their fourth choice. So it looks like a lot, but really they wanted all these other stuff first. That was their last choice. Nobody wanted band, even though it looks like they wanted band. And that's where that 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of comes in.
Okay. So
So
they type in the number and courses.
to get the charts, I just click the response. So I'm in this. This is the edit part of the form. I click responses. Let me go fast so we don't do names. And the charts are in there. So they automatically make the charts. I don't have to do, nobody has to do anything. They're just automatically in there.
But if you've selected that you want it to go to a spreadsheet, will it still show you these charts too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me show you real quick how to share these. And then once I show you how to share them, then I'm going to show you how to do those individual sheets real quick. So if this is your course selection sheet, which this is a really ugly one, but let's pretend it is, there are two different ways to share it. One is I can hit this preview button, and that gives me the live sheet, and I can just share this link right here. So I just copy that link. I can paste it in. I'm gonna paste, like I can paste it into you guys. Y'all could all click on that, and you would just get this side. Now, if you share this, what's in editing, it's not going to work like it did if you share it in the view form. So if you look and it says view form right there, that tells me that that's the one that they can fill out. Be very careful because you don't want to send them this and then they all start typing their name in right here. We've had that happen on some forms that were supposed to be private and things were put in. The other way to share it, if you click this button right here that says send, you can ask for the link. And you can even shorten the link. So there's the link there. You can send it out via email. So if you do have, I know a lot of the high schools have set up Google Classrooms that have every single kid in there. You can put those into the Google Classroom that has every grade level. If you did have an email group, that was set up in groups, you can go here and you can say, hey, and you can put in that email group and it will just send out that. You can even include the form in the email if you wanted to. But the other way is just to get the form here. How I got there was I just went to send, and here's the link. I want a short one, and I can click copy, and it copies that link for me. The other way that she asked me to repeat the other way I had it, if I click on the eyeball, it sends me to the live form, and I just click on the link up at the top there and copy it. I just always make sure that it's the one that says, see this one right here is going to say edit form at the end. It's going to say edit, but make sure it's the one that says view form at the end right there. And that reminds me that it's the view. It's just kind of a quick way to double test it.
Did that help, Melba? Okay, great.
Okay. So the individual sheets, there's a few different ways to do that. So I'm going to kind of show you the add-ons on the front, on the form side. I'm going to show you the add-ins then I'll show you the add-ins on the spreadsheet side. If you see this little square, this little puzzle piece, I guess, this is your add-ons. If you don't have that, you can go here to add-ons. And you got to get your first one. If you click there, this is your more menu, the 3 dots. If you click the more menu and go to add-ons, there's tons in here. One thing to know, if it says like new visions for public schools, they we know are extra safe. Some of these are Form Publishers fine. Like I said, most of them are, but I know for these were definitely written with FERPA and COPA and SIPA and all the fun stuff. Here, I always get COPA and SIPA mixed up, but they're written for schools. So do know that. The form limiter says, hey, after so many forms, it's cut off. Form publisher, this is the one that will make the mail merge from the form end. If any changes are made on the spreadsheet, it won't. But if you just want it to send out immediately, the form limiter, there is a limit of how many you can send. It sends out. I pay $2 a year or something like that, I think. I forget how much. It's not expensive, and actually I bought the version because Corner needed something quick, and they were desperate, and I was like, well, if I don't, I'm going to use this limit anyway because I use these a lot. So, but form limiter, I think it's after like 100 maybe. You have to do the paid version, purchase the license. It says $42, but I mean, I think it's like 20 bucks comes out of my account like twice a year or something like that. You only can do 100 in Form Publisher. I go ahead and get Form Publisher anyway because if you want to use it on the spreadsheet end, it automatically generates that that mail merge with the tags on it. There's also an add-in called, where is it? Choice Eliminator 2. I don't know why there's not a 1, but Choice Eliminator 2 is the one that will make things eliminate after so many times it's been asked. If I click on it, configure, I don't think I have a multiple choice. It might not work. It might not run on this one because I don't have multiple choice. Yeah, let's see. Let's change this over real quick. Did multiple choice, 1, 2, 3. I can say, oh, it's looking at my sheet, which I renamed. This one, yeah, last name. I can say eliminate choices. It's creating it. Thinking about it. I know it's named wrong. It's named wrong, but if it was named right, because remember I went in there and changed it so it would all be in one spreadsheet. If it was named right, I could tell it, hey, number 1, after 5 times, it goes away. You know, after 100 times, it goes away. And that would be kind of how you would set up those eliminators if you wanted to do that. Form Publisher, that's the one that, yes, it has the, it only does, I'm going to do this on the better one. Where's one that has one? Here we go. This one has all this. Let's do that one. Here we go. So if I wanted this one, I can go add on Form Publisher. It walks you through. I mean, it's really simple. It walks you through the steps. Let's not do that one. I apparently already set that one up. Good grief. Why did I make this so hard? Okay, here we go. Let's try this one. I haven't opened it up too many times. Here we go. Please work. Yeah, get started, and then you would tell it to make you a document. So that's kind of the pretty thing about this one is it will make that document for you that has those mail merge tags. And if you've ever used the mail merge and stuff with the tags, it's telling me that I can go look at my template, and it made me this little pretty template. That's a mess right now, but it has those tags, and I know that if I use this tag, it will work. And I can copy and paste that tag into, let me find. So if I use this, all I've done is kind of copied and pasted it in, so it puts the kid's name in there, and it has like what they chose for English, and all I did was take that, this was what Form Publisher gave me that looks like this, and I just copied and pasted it into these tables. So it would go in there. That's going to take a little time on the front end, but on the back end, it will generate those immediately as you need them. So that's the add-ons inside of here. Like I said, if you do this, the merge where it does it all on one sheet of paper for each kid, that's a whole nother lesson, which I don't ever mind coming out to your school and sitting down with you and helping you set it up. Or if you say, hey, can you help me get it started? I don't mind doing that either. On the flip end, let's see, we'll use this one. On the flip end, if you're in here and you have these, let me show this one that actually has stuff in there. If you want to do some add-ons, there are a few here. The compare one that I was talking about, this is the remove duplicates, and so I can find, I can compare sheets and columns. So if I had a list of kids who were in, who had recommendations for honors courses, and then I had them fill out that form in honors courses, I can actually compare and contrast. It's the individual sheet thing. It's a form or an add-on. The individual, what do you mean? Individual, like an individual sheet of paper. So it's an add-on. There's two different ways. One was that Form Publisher on the form side. There's another way inside of here, which would be another add-on, and that add-on is called Autocrat. So if you are in here, you can go to Get Add-ons. It's going to take you to the store. AutoCrat's usually one of the first ones that pop up.
And what does that one do again?
And this one's going to do the mail merge where it does an automatic sheet. So if I went there and I launched it, it's going to take you through step by step. And I have instructions on how to use that. I mean, that's going to be it'll be another 15 minutes if I showed you how to do it. It's one of those things, like, it's a lot of work on the front end, but once you get it started, you don't ever have to do it again. I would use Form Publisher to go ahead and get my tags. And then I could go in here. I'm going to create a new job, 9th grade. And then I can go in there and find in my drive one of those, what I just created in Form Publisher, that template. It goes through and it asks you the questions about the merge, and it will do the mail merge. And what it will do is it will stick the answers in here. I'll show you the example we used in Corner.
But you've got to have both of those add-ons to be able to do that.
No, you just have to. I mean, like, I just did it that way so I could get those little tags.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier if you do have both of them and get the tags first, just so you can copy and paste them and not have to worry about where my space is wrong or something like that. What it will look like is we have these that were copies. Crap, this is going to show a kid's name in it. If I click on it, what it will do is when you run the AutoCrat, it will put the URL of the student, and then it will show them what their sheet is and what it has on there. And it will fill in the blanks for you with those tags. Where this tag is, it would say this is the kid's first name, this is their middle name. So every time you see the tag, it will do a mail merge on there. And that's called AutoCrat. And like I said, I will put those links onto, I'm making a note now. I have like step by step on how to do AutoCrat. And I will give you those sheets for sure. If everybody's course selection sheet looks similar, we could just have one template that would that you could just edit small things. And so maybe that would be helpful.
So if we've already got course selection sheets, because we had to submit that information to be approved by like our deputies.
Yeah.
So if we have those course selection sheets, is there an easy way to like pop it over into Google Forms, or do we still have to go in and type all the stuff in?
You would just copy and paste it in, like, you would have to copy and paste each one of them in for sure. One of the pretty things is like this is a whole list. So if I was in here, I use this one. Let's say I want to do a multiple choice. I can just go in here and do this, and it puts them at least everyone separate page. On a separate line. Does that make sense? So when you do copy and paste it in, it will put the lines on there.
So could you leave this up and click Add Other, and then go back to your spreadsheet? Your electives list, and copy those and come back and just keep adding and adding.
You would just click the next one. Okay. Next one. Add Other is if there's a blank. Like I had up here on where I had the schools, because you see how I got a school right here, school you're currently attending, and I was trying to think of a school that would have different feeder patterns into that school, so the kids wouldn't just all put different things. And it has and I clicked the Add Other, so when the kids go to do it, and if they click Other, they've got to put in that other school. So if they're transferring or something like that, you can do it that way. You don't have to do new sections for each question. No, I just kind of did that to show you those options. I know where I was working. Where are
I don't know how you're keeping track of all the tabs.
I got way too many open now. We're getting lost now. So AutoCrat is the one that will do the mail merge. There is one that's called Formule, and that just sends like an email receipt. And you can go in and you can click, and it will look for those answers, and it will give you an email receipt. That one gets really sticky if you do the grid. But this one's a multiple choice, so it's really clean if it's multiple choice. If you do the grid, this one gets sticky. But what it will do is that I can say form responses. I can actually say when it triggers. So maybe I don't want it to do just that receipt that they had that was kind of funny looking with the blue in there, and I wanted it to do this way. I can set it this way. I can set it a different way. and my template would let me, I go into my template. I just click first name. Click right here. I want it to say the first name and the last name of the kid. Last name, comma, first name. I want to go down. I want to say, what did you have for English course selection, math course selection, science course selection, social studies course selection. And on this one, if you have the parent's email on there, you can say, I want it to go to, and I want this to send to parent email address.
Oh,
so it would
now
send
that's
that to the
pretty
parent
neat.
email address, because the other one, it only goes to the student who's filling it out. But if you wanted it to go to the parent email address, you would do it that way.
And now this one that's Form Mule.
This is Form Mule, yes.
And do you have to have Form Publisher first?
No.
Before it. So
No,
this one is a standalone.
This is just a standalone. It
Okay.
doesn't put it in its own little PDF or anything like that. It's just an email, but it does put all those questions in there for you. So you can have first name, last name, and then just the basics. You can send it to the parent email, copy it to, if you had student email as a question, you could copy it to the student email. I didn't have where it checked that they had to do the email on this one. If you have it checked where it has to have the email, it will have that question right here somewhere. It'll just say email address, and you could put that copy, so it copies it to the student and to you. You could say reply to, and it could always reply to me. And then my subject could always say the same, and you could even put an explanation up here. Below is your student's course selection, and then that would put it in there. And so, and then it would, and you could preview and send. I can look and see what it's going to look like before I send it out. And this is what the email looks like. Oh. So, and that one, yes, that one is Form Mule.
Well, that one's pretty handy. I think that's probably the most user-friendly of the ones that.
Yeah, it's pretty yeah, it is pretty user-friendly. It just doesn't do the nice little sheet that everybody would get. I think those are the only ones that are really.
So that's just for emailing the mail merge, though. Correct. You can't print a letter from that.
The print the letter is going to have to be an Autocrat or Form Publisher. Okay. Autocrat. I mean, once you've got the form, the tag set up, and your form filled out, it's really easy. It's really easy to take you through the steps, and it'll run pretty smoothly. But
so it's got like a wizard or something like Word does.
Yeah, okay. Pretty much. It'll take you through each step. So yes, Form Mule is what the email one was called, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other.
What else, y'all? Do y'all have other questions?
Yeah, and you can unmute if you want to.
Because I know that there's a lot of information that we just went over.
And I promise you, I'm going to put together more like screenshots and things like that to put together. Nobody has any questions?
Nobody has questions?
I know. Wow. I know I missed a bunch as they were coming through. Just trying to keep up.
It's like the quietest that I've ever seen counselors. We're always like chatty Cathy's.
That's funny. And like I said, these are all just different options of how it is best for you. You have
Sherilyn.
So Sherilyn, please send me an email, and you and I will sit down and we can work this together. You know I will.
I guess we're good. I know. Is every choice on the form a new question?
Yes. There's a difference between sections and.
What day are you coming to see, Jess?
There's a difference between questions and sections. Sections is a new page. So if you wanted to separate in pages, which you don't have to do, and then questions would be every time you ask a new thing. Sherilyn, I'm out of town at a conference next week, but the next week I'm pretty open. Just send me an email and we'll find a day. So I've got to explore some of these add-ons. So I know. Okay. And that's fine. And like I said, I'm going to add, I have some add-on PD stuff, and I'll add that to there. And if I don't have it, I'll get it put together tomorrow.
And then do you feel like maybe there's YouTube videos or something about the add-ons?
There are, and I even have some YouTube videos of some of them. So I'll, like I said, I'll get all those together, and even if there's a YouTube video somebody else made, I'll put theirs in there for sure.
Sherilyn says, pin me in and do not use pencil.
I'm putting email the group.
Don't forget to send us a form to look at as an example.
Yes, I'm gonna put some. I'm gonna put these that I've put together, and I'm gonna put them where they will automatically make a copy for you, so you can have one that's editable, that you can kind of play around with, and look at, and maybe even like it's a starting point for you to add your stuff, as well. And I'll put the one that Amanda did for Corner that time in there as well.
And so that'll all be in that.
I will put all this new stuff into that. Yeah, that's why I kind of did that agenda, so y'all could always have that one place to go back to.
Okay.
Should we send a middle school course selection sample? Yeah, I'll put an example. Yes, that would be great.
But you've got Amanda's though, right?
I do have hers. I'm trying to think.
No, but I think she's got Amanda's from last year for Corner.
And I know I have yours because I made a copy of Catherine's before I turned it in. My daughter's before I turned it in. So I'll look that up.
Oh, you're welcome. I just thought this would be the easiest way to do it, Mary. Glad we could get
Probably
it.
Would have been easier face to face, but hopefully this wasn't too bad.
Hey, it's whatever works at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and what we can do too is we can look at I can look at calendars with Amanda and see if there's any time that maybe we could get her for an hour or so in February or something like that to catch up and see if there's any questions after we've all started using this. And that way, if we've had something that has worked or hasn't worked, we've gotten stuck, we can touch base and
for sure.
See if we need.
And guys, my job is to help you. I mean, I'm a tech coach, so my job is to help you guys. And so, y'all fall under people to help. So if you ever do have questions okay, I've gotten this far, I don't know what to do, send me an email. I don't mind coming by schools. I got to be at schools almost every day. So I don't mind coming out and helping y'all. So don't think you're bothering me. I get that question a lot. I don't mean to bother you. You're not. That's my job. If y'all knew how to do this, I wouldn't have them.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that's it.
Well, at least
and remember, this will be on the